hidden. And unless we start filling ourselves with the spirit, which is connected to that, you could say the white fire or the high ethers, the Aleph will remain hidden to you and you will never be actualized as it. You will be an empty container, an empty vessel trying to fill it, because you will know that something's missing, but you won't know what it is that is missing, because that what is missing is waiting to be revealed. It's already there. That's why we go within to find it. We have to excavate it. We have to dig it out. And that's why the sacred writings are so helpful with that, because everywhere you look, guess what? It's pointing to the Aleph all the time. You can't get away from it. And of course, you know, English doesn't allow that too. So again, as a refresher on that, that is why we are doing this. And so that we can take those energies, build the Aleph back, our absolute state of being, so that then we're operating as creators that have the twin energies that are balanced. Then everything that we create, everything that we put our hands to is then sustainable, because those energies actually create a current that feed itself in a toroidal field, and they continue to expand. So, you know, you can take a look at that in the natural state of being, is how we're building. How are we building our houses? How are we building our highways? We can look in the natural state and see around us and see that things were not built with that in mind.
This is sustainable building.
Exactly. Now, I'm not talking about the green agenda. I'm not doing any of that political stuff, but I am saying that there are things that we need to take in consideration when moving forward. But the first place it has to start is in here. We won't be able to find and resolve anything until we resolve our inward self first. And then those other things will start manifesting on the outside, because we will be more conscious of being able to create sustainability because we found it within. So our external world is reflecting that which is us. Our chaotic state of being in the place of separateness, as like our little nuclear families, is just us and no more, that we haven't turned our chairs back outside to realize there's a whole nother world that we're supposed to connect to, so that we all can have the Aleph revealed from the inside out. It's never going to happen if we just keep in our little nuclear family and only stay focused here. We have to be able to broaden that, because again, that part of that is building family and bringing that into the vessel, into the container. My friend Heather, I just love Heather McDermott. If you guys haven't seen her interview on YouTube, please go look up Heather McDermott's interview. She is a lovely, lovely soul. And she says all the time that her job is to show up to make a we. She always says that, to make a we. So every relationship is about building a we, instead of that separated I. And I think about that quite frequently. And that's what this letter Bet is talking about, because it's two. It's moving into the we as family. You guys are connecting to what I'm saying
as
here.
A micro and a macro.
Exactly. One and stage two. Stage three, the divinity within. Self-actualized as one with the creator as creator. So when we finish the process of turning our shadow, so turning the shadow is stage two. It's dealing with all of that. By the time we have turned all shadow, we have now become self-actualized as creator within ourselves. And this is when you start walking in the ability to manifest. Much quicker manifestations, because in that absolute state of being, you don't have anything that is separating yourself from being able to actualize things in reality and materialize them. I mean, we are going to get to the place where we have instant manifestation. Right now, there's still a little bit of a delay. You know, I mean, sometimes, I mean, I don't know, it took us a couple years for us to manifest the gym that's right next door to us. But now I know that these manifestations are happening much quicker. Could be 6 months, down to 3 months, down to 1 month, down to a week. But eventually we will have instant manifestation. The more and more that we can deal with our separateness in the ego and collapse it so that we're in our absolute state of being. And I don't know about you guys, but that thrills me. That's so exciting, because we realize that everything that we're manifesting is not doing anyone harm, but it is for the greater extent of family good. Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. So there's that 1, 2, 3 process. If we go from the masculine energy to the feminine energy, and then back into our absolute state of being where they've unified as one in the place of intimacy. So what does this look like? This moves out of the bride training, The bride training or the bride to be training is mother's job, again, to fix the form. The bride that is now in the set apart place is in queen training to become the queen. That's dealing with all the shadow. When the shadow is turned, you not only then become the queen, because the queen is called queen when she engages in the marriage, spiritual alchemy, those for you that know Greek, Kairos Gamos, in English, sacred wedding. When that takes place, you went beyond queen for the day. You're now in that state of being as emperor or empress. This is one state higher. But that is when the absolute, the bet ceases to be. And now you are in the absolute state of being as one. You're no longer needing to be built or in the building process. You are now in your absolute state. That's what we're getting to. So please recognize that as we're moving forward in the letters are always telling us, we're kind of in our journey. How do I say it this way? In the journey, when we go through the letters, I'm going to stop share here. In our journey through the letters, we start in our absolute state and then we go into separation so we can take a journey. And I know this is going to maybe sound a little counterintuitive, but when you work with the letters more, it'll make more sense. So when we leave that absolute state of being and we enter into the bet, notice that, and we're going to go into it again, one side is open of the bet. Why is that important? Because it's actually letting us know that we started on a journey and we can't just turn around and go back into the absolute state of being. Why would we come here? We're looking for experience. So I can't turn around without walking things out in order to become into that absolute state of being, because that's like I could dematerialize and then I just bypass the whole reason why we're here. So because the bet is showing that there's one opening, it means there's one way to go. And if you're connecting it to Ken's teaching, he's always saying, go to the right, go to the right, go to the right-hand path, take the right-hand path, because you got to take one path. You cannot come back to Aleph because you decided to come here to take a journey. And that's why the letters, then we're going to talk about the Gimel. That'll be the next journey. That will be the next station. And you will see that's from station to station. We are turning from glory to glory in order to get back to our absolute state of being. Nobody can spiritually bypass this journey. None of us can. We all have to walk it out. That's why the sacred languages, through the letters themselves, are going to tell you the way to go. It's a beautiful blueprint and a guide for us to see where we're at for self-adjudication purposes, to see the areas where, oh, I haven't passed that lesson yet of the Gimel, or I haven't quite passed, this bet thing because, and I'm really operating in strong masculine energy and I'm, not allowing myself to connect to my emotion and my creative side, right? So I'm going to stay in the bet for quite a while, but there's a journey, but it's telling you, you have one direction to go. You decided to come in and to be birthed into this process. So you have to learn the masculine energy, the feminine energy. You got to go through that whole process in order to reestablish your divinity. So the walk and the way, it will lead you on a path, every foot upon stone to get you there.
Knowing that allows every experience to have a new, fresh perspective of what the intention is. There's so much wealth of wisdom in that perspective, because you realize regardless of where you are, it's still part of exactly where you need to be to extrapolate out the potential through the experience.
Yes. So I want to share with you a little story on this, and then I won't be laborious anymore because I can see that I'm kind of like starting to get, I was joking with myself that I was getting really wordy, but I am really getting wordy.
Yeah.
But I love to have some stories to connect to things, to go a little deeper. The difficulty is if we don't deal with our shadow, it's much like keeping us in our, I've already shared with you guys this story. I don't even know why I did that. I shared the screen and I don't need it right now. Feral cats. I've been discussing about feral cats, and there was a reason why I brought it up. Last summer we were house sitting, and the people that we were watching their house for, they had a feral cat that they were feeding. And of course, as soon as you start doing that, and then the mama shows up and she's pregnant, you're going to have a whole bunch of issues that are going to happen, especially if you keep feeding the mama kitty, and then you decide to feed all the babies, but you're not actually taking care of them and spaying and neutering them, you're going to have one heck of a problem down the road that somehow, some way, somebody's got to fix. Not my problem, not my house. It's not my job to worry about any other's business. I was paid to help assist and to feed the cats. So we got to watch this whole nature thing taking place. What was interesting was when we do not deal with the shadow actually is connected to ego, and ego is connected to survival. Everything is based on the survival realm. So Mama Kitty gets pregnant. She births kittens. What is her whole thing? Her whole thing was survival, so that the children, her babies could be born. And then her whole essence of her being was to make sure that her kittens would survive. And what was interesting when we were watching them grow up, she was so loving and so nurturing, and they'd all be cuddling with each other, and the kittens would be rubbing all over mom. And I was like, oh, this is the sweetest thing ever, until those kittens were no longer kittens and they became full-grown cats. And then guess what? Mama was not friendly to them. She was eating first. She would smack them out of the way. She became a tyrant to her kitties, who before it was loving and it was nurturing and everything else. When they reached that age of maturity, she was like, out, I'm first. Because in the beast ego nature feral cat part, there's always survival. Everything is based on survival. So if we don't turn the shadows, we're not going to, we won't be in the absolute state of being. We will not see others as the absolute state of being, and we will be only concerned about our welfare, and we'll just be like feral kitties. It's our nuclear family, and to hell with everybody else. I've seen this play out. So I saw it in the feral kitty, but I realized that when we operate in our beast ego and we don't transmute those shadows and we do not get rid of fear, when, I'm going to say it this way, and I apologize if you guys get offended with this word, but when shit hits the fan, what's going to happen? Are we going to be thinking about others, or are we still going to have some feral kitty in us? And is it going to be on my needs only, or are we going to be working as a whole, seeing the greater need of the whole? Because it depends on what we want to manifest. Do we want to manifest one of those biblical narratives, or do we want to move past that and create something so we don't have to walk through those timelines, those egregores? Right now, we have the ability to build what we want to build. So that's why I'm asking for all of us to turn our shadows, and why I always talk about it, and I'm sure you guys are getting really tired of hearing me say it, but until we turn all the shadows, I'm pointing all the fingers back at me. We need to keep doing our work, because this is what we want to reveal. We want to reveal that absolute state of being that is creating and doing things in sustainability with no harm, so that we don't become feral kitties that kick the kids out of the nest and start going with war because we're in survival. We can build through survival, or we can build universal love, absolute love, where we nurture ourselves first and nurture others around us, because they're moving in the same frequency as sovereigns. Not takery, not abusing, not taking energy, but actually giving energy, so that plenitude is an abundance is amongst all of us, so that we don't have to walk through that. That's what we get to build right now, if we choose to. Okay, enough with that. All right, so now let's talk about the Leb. Let's talk about heart. We are going to be moving into, and I probably am not going to get into it today, because we're going to talk about the difference between scriptures and the Word of God. They are two entirely different things. They are not the same thing. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to express it, because it is connected with the letter Bet. But what I do want to express with you today is that we must realize that this letter that we're talking about today on our second session has everything to do with your heart. Has everything to do with your heart. Eastern mindset always thinks of the inner man before the outer man. It's only in our Western culture that we were taught to think from the outside in. And I don't even know how often we think about the inside. Everything's on the outside. But Eastern culture is from the inside out. How differently we would be living in where we are living if we would have started with the inside first. And that's what that letter is expressing to us. Bet is always about the inside. So when we move into the heart, very interesting to see some of the words that are connected to this and why I want to drill down deep on this. Let me get back into my document here so that we can see it. Like I said, I'm going to be explaining the difference between scripture and the word made flesh. We will get to that. I can't talk about that quite yet until we talk about the heart, the leb. I have it on the screen so you can see it. It's lamed bet, the word leb, but there's actually 3 different words for heart. And, you know, for me, this makes absolute sense why in the Western culture or the Western mindset or the Greco-Roman mindset, why we've had such a challenge with the heart and what it's truly speaking to us, because there's not really a delineation. I mean, the word heart is the word heart. I mean, I guess, you know, you can say I heart you as a verb, meaning I love you, or as a noun, it's a thing that's within our chest and it beats. And, you know, they're even finding now that it even isn't so much about circulating blood as is creating a torus field of light, of energy, that's the main purpose of it. It doesn't even actually, it's not really, the main purpose isn't to circulate blood. It's to circulate light and create our torus field. It goes much deeper, but I want to connect this to you so you can see the 3 different words for heart. Do we have, where did I do with my, I'm going to have to use my finger. Do you have an eraser somewhere near you? Did I eat it? Did I throw it away? What did I do with it? I had it earlier.
I don't know.
Oh, well, I guess it just use my fingers. It works just fine. Oh, you saved the day. Thank you. A little late, but I got it. So this is how we spell the word heart, as you can see, lamed bet. If we were going to simply break down lamed bet, I'm going to get out my stop share. If we were to break it down, if I was to use a basic interpretation for this in the fewest words possible, which I know is difficult for me to use few words as possible, it would be authority within. The lamed has to do, many that you've listened to me 100 times, 1,000 times, you know that this has been one of my favorite letters forever, that this is the shepherd's staff. And this has to do with teaching and learning and goading, pricking, stinging, shepherd's staff, staff of authority. And then the letter bet, we've shared all the basic information on that, but to simplify, it means on the inside. Again, it's a container. So what are we doing? We're teaching ourselves and instructing ourselves to have authority on the inside of us. That's what the word leb means, to have authority on the inside. So what is having authority over us? Our shadow? Is our shadow having authority over us? Or is it the absolute state of being? Another way of saying this, do you have chaos on the inside of you, which is entropy, or are you self-ordering, generating light in negentropy? There's only 2 ways to go on this. There's no other way. There's no halfway in between. You're either emitting light, life, love, frequency, expanding your light in the world and giving that, or you're taking it because the shadow is consuming the light in order to sustain itself.